Did President Trump just admit that maybe he's gone too far when it comes to his aggressive ICE and immigration raids?
You know, they have very good workers. They've worked for them for 20 years. They're not citizens, but they've turned out to be, great. And we're going to have to do something about that. We can't take farmers and take all their people and send them back because they don't have maybe what they're supposed to have, maybe not. And you know what's going to happen and what is happening? They get rid of some of the people because, you go into a farm and you look and people they've been there for 20, 25 years and they've worked great and the owner of the farm loves them and everything else. And then you're supposed to throw them out. And you know what happens? They end up hiring the people, the criminals that have come in, the murderers from prisons and everything else. So we're going to have an order on that pretty soon, I think. We can't do that to our farmers and leisure too, hotels. We're going to have to use a lot of common sense on that.
Now, that is an incredible pivot from President Trump on his hardline immigration stance. He initially said he would focus on deporting the illegal criminals in this country, but obviously that scope has expanded to getting out everyone who is here in this country illegally. Trump has said this hardline immigration stance is why he was elected. He says this is part of the mandate that voters gave him. But the change he talked about today is a brand new tone.
What's up, YouTube family? Welcome back to my space. This is Evans Trayola. Guys, thank you so much for tuning to watch today's episode. I do not take your support for granted. Fam, on today's video, we want to talk about Donald Trump backing up, on immigration when it comes to farm workers and hotel workers and people in the hospitality industry. That just shows Americans that Trump is one person that is gambling. He's playing around with Americans. Today he wakes up, he says that I want to send ICE officials and I want them to arrest at least 3,000 people, per day. Then tomorrow he wakes up, I want the National Guard to just come and help the ICE officials in the ICE protests. Tomorrow he wakes up. I feel like Americans today are suffering when it comes to the farms. The farm workers have been working so well. They've been working for more than 20 years now, and I feel like we need to give them an opportunity as immigrants in America. Then you wonder, what was Trump even thinking before he made these decisions? Because he's now trying to gamble with Americans. He's not becoming a man of his word. For the first time, we are seeing that anything that is affecting the white man, Trump is afraid of. And people are asking questions, is it about immigration or is it about white supremacy? So far, I have compiled a series of videos of Americans complaining about the decisions that Donald Trump is making in America. Once the series of videos are done, we will get back and do a critical analysis about the same. Let's watch this together, family.
Don't you dare tell me that these protests are not working. Don't you dare tell me, because Supreme Leader's backing down. Watch what he says here.
What made you change your mind about targeting in California farmers and people in the hotel and leisure business?
Well, we're not targeting. In fact, if you look today, I put out a statement today about farmers. Our farmers are being hurt badly have very good workers. They've worked for them for 20 years. They're not citizens, but they've turned out to be great. We're going to have to do something about that. We can't take farmers and take all their people and send them back because they don't have maybe what they're supposed to have, maybe not.
Wait, what? Did he just say they're going to stop targeting farmers and the hotel industry? This is his post on his Trash Social earlier today. Our great farmers and people in the hotel and leisure business have been stating that our very aggressive policies on immigration is taking very good long-time workers away from them. No shit. With those jobs being almost impossible to replace. Shit, it's almost as if MAGAs don't want to work farms or do all the shitty jobs that the immigrants do for us that we need to be more appreciative of? Really? I'm sure part of this is some of his rich buddies that own hotels and farms and things like that probably reached out to him and were like, yo, President Bone Spurs, you're taking away all of our workers and none of the MAGAs want jobs working in our farms, or none of our MAGAs want to clean hotel rooms and stuff. Again, I said before, We need immigrants in this country to do the work that most Americans don't want to do. These people work hard. They make a good living for themselves. And they're trying to make a better life for themselves. That's why they come to America. They're willing to do the jobs that Americans don't want to do. They're willing to work their asses off for minimum wage. And most Americans are not willing to do that. The ICE protests are working. Keep it up. Don't be bullied. We must not stop. This weekend's No Kings weekend. Find a protest near you. President Bone Spurs is changing his tune a little bit. Keep up the protest, folks. Keep them up.
So you can't make this up. Trump is now basically going to exempt farmers and hotel workers from his immigration policies. So you know how ICE is rounding up undocumented workers all over the country and doing raids? He originally said he was going to go after criminals and the worst of the worst. Instead, he's going to car washes and nail salons and schools and rounding those people up. And yesterday he gives a press conference and he basically acknowledged that immigration policies are hurting the farming and hotel industries. Duh. So now you're going to pick and choose who gets deported, even though they're all the same. If they're all undocumented, some get to say and some don't. You see how he is? He backpedals and he can't do anything right. This is the beginning of the failure of his plan. Here's what he said in the New York Times. Our great farmers and people in the hotel and leisure business have been stating that our very aggressive policy on immigration is taking a very good long-time workers away from them, and with those jobs being almost impossible to replace, he said. Of course he's worried about hotel workers. He owns luxury hotels. He's always owned hotels. So again, a self-serving move. And the farmers, well, senators are complaining all across the Midwest, saying his policy is destroying farms, which in turn will destroy us because we won't be able to get our food. And of course, Taco Man blames the Biden administration for allowing criminals to apply for jobs on farms. So he says he wants to make sure he gets rid of the criminals off the farms and then lets the regular workers stay there. Well, you just said that they worked there for 20 plus years. So if they're already there, then you don't have to replace them. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So here's what he said. Our farmers are being hurt badly by, they have very good workers. They have worked for them for 20 years. They're not citizens, but they've turned out to be, great. And we're going to have to do something about that. We can't take farmers and take all their people and send them back because they don't have maybe what they're supposed to have, maybe not. Yeah, what they're supposed to have. You want them to have documentation. He later said that there would be an order soon on the matter. And this is all on the heels of an economist, Brian Kovac, who had a public policy professor at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, who had wrote in an email in April that deporting large groups of undocumented immigrants would cause a shock to major industries. So, he didn't listen to the guy back then, but now he's realizing these policies are hurting our economy. So I guess now he's just going to go after babysitters, guys who work at McDonald's, taco trucks, but he's going to leave farmers and hotel workers alone.
What? Trump always chickens out again? And this time with immigration?
Thank you, President Trump. I have two. First, on immigration. What made you change your mind about targeting in California farmers and people in the hotel and leisure business?
Well, we're not targeting. In fact, if you look today, I put out a statement today about farmers. Our farmers are being hurt badly by, they have very good workers. They've worked for them for 20 years. They're not citizens, but they've turned out to be, great. And we're going to have to do something about that. We can't take farmers and take all their people and send them back because they don't have maybe what they're supposed to have, maybe not. And you know what's going to happen and what is happening? They get rid of some of the people because, you go into a farm and you look and people they've been there for 20, 25 years and they've worked great and the owner of the farm loves them and everything else. And then You're supposed to throw them out, and you know what happens? They end up hiring the people, the criminals that have come in, the murderers from prisons and everything else. So we're going to have an order on that pretty soon, I think. We can't do that to our farmers, and leisure too, hotels. We're going to have to use a lot of common sense on that.
And my other question about
In other words, he's apologizing to all of the farmers who voted for him, and now he's recognizing he has harmed. He's harming American farmers. He's harming Americans in general, right? Wasting our tax dollars. And none of this is evidence that the immigration raids are actually solving the problem. It's actually making it a lot worse. And so what is he going to do? Oh, use common sense. Yeah, right. Give me a break. What a disgrace. What a disgrace.
So at Trump's bill signing ceremony, he talked about possibly working out some kind of a deal or signing something where those people that work in hotels, like illegals that work in hotels, or farmers that hire these people to be a farmhand, that he's going to work something out with them. Now, I'm not sure what that means. There may be an expedited process for them to become legal here. But this is what we're talking about. He said in the speech, and I was trying to post it for some reason, TikTok is tripping in the app where I couldn't record it, but he was saying it's just common sense. It is common sense. It really is. It's not about just being a tyrant saying you all got to get out, but they do have to go. But he's hearing the voice of the people. And that was what the previous party did not do. They didn't listen to anything that we said. They didn't listen to any of our complaints. They didn't help us at all. All they did was make empty promises. And he's listening to the voices of the farmers that are here, because the farmers, they are the foundation of this nation. They are the reason why we can go to the grocery store and get the veggies that we got today. So I'm really satisfied and happy that Trump is even willing to listen to them, hear them out, and come up with some sort of plan, again, to expedite the citizenship. And that's a lot of times why the people do come over here the way that they do. I'm not saying it's an excuse, but if you've been over here 5 to 15 years and you're not legal, it's time to go ahead and get legal so these issues won't even come up in the future for you. In the future for you or your children, you'll never have to be separated from your family. So y'all go check that out. I loved what he had to say. It was really simple and short. I'm assuming that he's going to come up with something pretty soon.
All right, so someone explain to me how this is America first. Trump just came out in a press conference and said an executive order is likely. He's not going to deport and grant residency to illegal immigrant farmers because they don't have enough of them in the United States. Did Bill Clinton just say that, or did Donald Trump? That doesn't sound like anything I voted for. If the problem is we don't have enough farmers, don't you think we should be focused on American innovation, American people, and making farming more accessible for the people that are already here legally and are generational Americans? I mean, that kind of seems like that's what you would do if you were a national populist president, right? You could also get each state to abolish property taxes, or at least lower them, because that's the main reason American farmers are losing their farm after 100 years. The most common saying is we lost the family farm because the property taxes were too high.
The president just destroyed his own argument for deportations today and handed the left a huge victory. Turns out the protesters were right, because after months of tough talk, today he announced ICE will no longer be detaining or deporting undocumented immigrants working on farms or in the hospitality industry. So let me ask, are immigrants destroying the country, or are they the only reason you can still get a Caesar salad and clean hotel bed sheets? This wasn't a moral decision. It was a financial one. Because once the deportation buses started threatening to clear out lettuce fields and hotel kitchens, suddenly we're making exceptions. Suddenly law and order became, well, not those undocumented workers. Why? Because if strawberries disappear from grocery shelves, Americans will panic. They won't care about immigration policy. They'll care that their kids can have berries with breakfast. And the hospitality industry, forget it. With the Olympics and the World Cup coming to the U.S. in the next few years, losing immigrant workers means thousands of tourists with no rooms, no food, and no one to call when the toilet breaks. Trump's not trying to avoid chaos. He's trying to avoid a PR disaster. And the protected zones will be expanding. Trust me. First it'll be the farms, then it'll be hotels, next Disneyland. Because if ICE starts detaining people at the happiest place on earth, you can kiss those ticket sales goodbye. Disney doesn't do immigration policy. Disney does crowds. And they don't like headlines. And guess what? Construction's next. The second developers can't find workers to finish subdivisions, the economy takes a hit. And suddenly Trump will realize why no president ever has tried to deport all 11 million undocumented immigrants. We need them. They're not taking jobs. They're doing jobs nobody else wants to do. And without them, entire industries collapse. So what happened today? Trump blinked because deporting workers from industries that actually matter to his donors was a step too far. It's not about crime. It's not about safety. It's about what industries can afford lobbyists. ICE isn't patrolling Napa Valley or Miami Beach. They're posted up at Home Depot and 7-Eleven. Because this whole thing isn't about enforcing the law. It's about optics. And now the cracks are starting to show. If immigrants are really such a danger, why carve out exceptions for farms and hotels? Unless they were never the problem. And the problem was always the narrative. So yeah, the president just told you what we've been saying all along. We don't just tolerate immigrants, we depend on them. And today, he proved it.
So Dookie Booty having a change of heart on his ICE policies, on where they can raid at. Because he getting complaints about none of the workers want to show up at these hotels and farms because ICE want to show up at their jobs, even though they're supposed to be looking for criminals. You showing up to all these people's jobs and detaining them and deporting them, and they can't fill the positions. And they saying that they can't find nobody to replace them because none of your maggots want to step up and fill these positions. Why? Because your maggots are welfare queens. They live off of the government. So no, they're not going to get up and go in these fields or go into these hotels and do any fucking thing because they're a bunch of lazy pieces of shit. So now Trump is trying to backtrack and make it to where ICE isn't going into hotels and farms, but it's too fucking late. You already scared everybody away. So ain't nobody coming back to them jobs. They not about to risk their lives and getting deported to a country they probably never fucking been before, or worse, a prison, to work a job. Y'all should have stuck to what the fuck y'all said y'all was gonna do and actually gone after criminals. But y'all are going after hard-working immigrants who pay fucking taxes. That helps America. So, you did what you did, Dookie Booties. It's too late.
Donald Trump said he's not going to target restaurant workers or hotel workers or farm workers anymore with immigration. And this is where you find out that this regime has no idea what it's doing. Not 2 weeks ago, Stephen Miller had ICE officials, immigration officials, in his office screaming at him about 3,000 arrests a week, okay? Berating people. What that causes, because now they fear for their jobs, is for them to pressure everybody down the line and delegate everybody down the line, arrest everybody. So they're raiding job sites, they're raiding farms, they're texting people to come to immigration hearings, and then, arresting them in immigration hearings. This creates horrible optics. One thing, they didn't anticipate the horrible optics of it, or they did and they don't care, but obviously they do care because Trump has walked it back. So they just didn't anticipate the horrible optics. I mean, Joe Rogan's turning on them. Everybody who sees that is like, oh, okay. So you're taking a winning issue for you guys, the Republicans, in immigration, and you have just ruined it. Because now people see you arresting honor roll high school students who have been here since they were 4 years old, separating this guy's Marine. They have his wife in detention. They have arrested at an immigration hearing a U.S. interpreter for the Afghans. They was an interpreter for the U.S. Army. These guys are not playing chess. These are idiots. They have no idea what they're doing. They're not even communicating what they're doing with each other between cabinet members and officials. This is a cartoonishly stupid, and we're all subject to it.
Did Trump just admit that deportations are hurting the economy? In a post on Truth Social this morning, Trump said that he's heard from business leaders that his mass deportation agenda is taking very good long-time workers away from them. Our great farmers and people in the hotel and leisure business have been stating that our very aggressive policy on immigration is taking very good long-time workers away from them, with those jobs being almost impossible to replace. In the same online message, he added that he wants to protect our farmers while getting criminals out of the country. Changes are coming, he concluded.
Wow, it's almost like everyone told you that was going to happen. Crazy. But also,
are you actually admitting this right now?
Publicly? I feel like he's crashing out. The taco thing made him lose his mind. And then Elon. And then it's just been one thing after another. But part of me is always like, okay, so what are you up to next? What are you distracting us from? Because rarely does he actually mean that shit. But we are going to hope and pray and act like Yes, that's true. Make sure you tell every MAGA supporter. Please do that.
Oh boy, here we go. So yesterday I gave the news that Trump announced that he wants to allow people who voluntarily deported themselves, or people who left in an amicable way, illegal immigrants who left in an amicable way, can actually come back and get legal work status, for farm workers, people in hospitality, and in agriculture. This person right here is saying, you realize he wants them not for the sake of giving them a chance at new life, but rather for cheap labor. Farmers are devastated without immigrant workers, and Trump sees this. It's all about money. I know you guys have no logic, but let me help you out here. Giving them an opportunity to come back with a legal work status means they get paid higher wages, okay? When you advocate for people to stay in this country undocumented and work undocumented, you are advocating for slavery. You are advocating for them to get paid under the table shit wages. That's what you're advocating for. The fact that he's allowing them to come back with legal work status means that they will get paid more. Awkward. What the fuck are you saying? And also, it's not about giving them a chance at new life. These are strangers to Donald Trump. Everybody needs an incentive. Why am I going to help thousands of people? I want to help people, but I also need an incentive. I don't know you. He needs an incentive. He needs good workers that are going to contribute to society. He needs the employers to say, these are good people that are going to assimilate to American life and work hard and contribute. And that's all. It's all about money. It's all about money. What money? He could be making so much more money. He is sacrificing money to do things the right way. And doesn't let's use our logic, people. You really expect me to think that this man hates all black and brown people? Really? It doesn't make more sense to you that he wanted all illegal immigrants who came in unvetted by the Biden administration, he wanted them all to leave so that he has control over who comes in this country and he knows exactly who is stepping foot through that border? Makes perfect fucking sense. That is 100 times more logical than he's just a racist who hates all black and brown people, even though he appointed the first ever Latino Secretary of State, even though he has a pretty diverse cabinet. Enough. There is no logic and reasoning in your thinking. That makes 10 times more sense that he wanted to hit the reset button and do things the right way. If you leave amicably when you were never supposed to be in the country, then you may come back legally. That makes perfect sense.
Taco Trump, baby. Taco Trump. Back at it again. Smells like fear. Sounds like the protests are getting to little Donnie here, who's underwater on his immigration policy and his deportation policy. America's not with it at all. Count your days, Tom Homan. You are failing. You went from get all the criminals out to going to elementary schools. And it looks like the masters are getting into Trump's ear because he's hurting their bottom line. Don't get it twisted. This isn't about being nice to undocumented workers. This is about the bottom line. This is still putting profits over people. Profits over people forever and always with him.
Trump is now saying he wants to slow down the deportation of immigrants that work on farms and in hotels. Specifically because then who the fuck is going to clean Mar-a-Lago?
Also going to work with farmers that if they have strong recommendations for their farms for certain people, we're going to let them stay in for a while and work with the farmers and then come back and go through a legal process. But we have to take care of our farmers and hotels and various places where they need the people.
There's a reason why he only mentioned farms and hotels. One, because he thinks that all immigrants work on farms, and two, because he himself has hired more than 100 foreign workers in 2023 at Mar-a-Lago. Because if he truly understood the full depth of this issue, he would know the statistics that economists have been warning that mass deportations would harm the U.S. economy. Because there's evidence to show that mass deportations don't just hurt immigrant populations, they also hurt U.S.-born workers. His employers would not simply hire U.S.-born workers to fill the vacancies created by undocumented workers who are deported, as there would be too many vacancies. U.S.-born workers would be unlikely to move into these industries. Employers may, for example, choose to invest in production processes that require less labor instead. Not to mention, deportations could also cause a health worker shortage. Especially when immigrants make up 31% of the home care workforce, 21% of the nursing assistant workforce, 21% of the residential care aide workforce, and 30% of the nursing home, housekeeping, and maintenance workforce. I'm not going to pretend with you. The other reason is simple. Donald Trump is for and by the billionaire class only. Because U.S. farm workers, especially immigrant populations that don't assert their rights because they don't think that they even have any, struggle with some of the lowest wages in the country and suffer an above average rate of workplace injuries. And that's when you realize that the most pro-black, pro-indigenous, pro-Latino, pro-American, and pro-human thing that we could do in this country is to dismantle the system of capitalism. Because capitalism in the United States was created off the exploitation of indigenous and black slavery, continued all the way to today through the exploitation of labor through prisons. And if you think that's just promoting victimhood mentality because we've evolved as an entire species because, oh my God, MLK had a dream and Oprah Winfrey's a billionaire and Barack Obama became the president of the United States, tell me who the fuck was at the front lines fighting the California wildfires. All of this is about the exploitation of fucking labor.
It appears as though Donald Trump has just worked out that his deportation policies hurt American farmers. Who knew? I mean, as we say in London, what a plonker. What a complete plonker. This was as obvious as you like. But Donald Trump has just done a news conference now where he's been saying that, unfortunately, there have been some workers on American farms and they might not be citizens and have all the paperwork, but they've been working there for 20 or 25 years and done a really good job. And now farmers are having to get in, criminals and things like that instead. And it's so obvious what's happened here. Big farming businesses in the States will have been trying to get his attention for a long time. They will have finally got his attention, maybe through, threats of what's likely to happen, but they've got it through to Donald Trump's thick skulls that if all of the immigrant workforce get chased out of the States, then this is what is going to happen. Lots of American farms will go bust. Other American farms won't be able to harvest and sow all of their produce. That means there's going to be a shortage of food in the US. That's going to drive up prices. And with Donald Trump's 10% tariffs on absolutely everyone from the rest of the world trying to sell in food produce into the US, that means that basic food prices are going to rocket right up. And that is going to drive inflation up, and that is going to weaken Americans' economies. And the rural states are going to be really pissed off with Donald Trump about this, and his approval ratings are already sliding. So this has clearly finally gotten through to his dense skull, because now he is realizing that it is not right to be chasing off a lot of the hard-working workforce on American farms. So changes are coming and he's going to think of something different and watch this space and all of this BS. Whether he'll be able to turn on a dime fast enough in order to save American agriculture for its output this summer and autumn, who's to know? But it's so obvious that this would happen. We had the same thing in the UK, incidentally, with Brexit, which the UK voted for by 52% to 48% in 2016. And part of all of the politicking and angling around that was keeping fellow Europeans out of the UK. And that included a lot of workforce, particularly Eastern European workforce, that would come over and work seasonally on our farms. And Brexit just made all of that more difficult. So what did we have in the UK? We had lots of fruit and vegetables rotting in fields and in greenhouses. And at the same time, we also had barriers with food coming in from Europe because of the whole Brexit deal. And that really pushed food prices up and deteriorated the quality of food that we had in our shelves. So this is not a new thing, right? This is clearly a case of Donald Trump diving for policies before he understands fully what the implications of the policies are. But it is obvious AF. And here we are now, and he's starting to realize what his smash and grab of the immigrant workforce means to American productivity in the rural states and the cost of food right across the states. Well done, Donald.
Did President Trump just admit that maybe he's gone too far when it comes to his aggressive ICE and immigration raids?
You know, they have very good workers. They've worked for them for 20 years. They're not citizens, but they've turned out to be, great. And we're going to have to do something about that. We can't take farmers and take all their people and send them back because they don't have maybe what they're supposed to have, maybe not. And you know what's going to happen and what is happening? They get rid of some of the people because, you go into a farm and you look and people they've been there for 20, 25 years and they've worked great and the owner of the farm loves them and everything else. And then you're supposed to throw them out. And you know what happens? They end up hiring the people, the criminals that have come in, the murderers from prisons and everything else. So we're going to have an order on that pretty soon, I think. We can't do that to our farmers and leisure too, hotels. We're going to have to use a lot of common sense on that.
Now, that is an incredible pivot from President Trump on his hardline immigration stance. He initially said he would focus on deporting the illegal criminals in this country, but obviously that scope has expanded to getting out everyone who is here in this country illegally. Trump has said this hardline immigration stance is why he was elected. He says this is part of the mandate that voters gave him. But the change he talked about today is a brand new tone. And he didn't just say it at that live event at the White House. Earlier today, he also said it on his social media account. In that post, he talked again about the farmers in the hotel and leisure industry, which generally relies on immigrant labor. And it just so happens that a lot of those laborers are not in this country legally. Trump said in his post that his aggressive policy is taking very good longtime workers away from farmers and business owners in the hospitality and leisure industry. He ends his post by saying changes are coming. Now, what do those changes look like? We don't know. Trump did mention something about maybe signing an executive order that's coming very soon, but he gave no other details. The other question is, what about the migrant laborers who are here in this country, who are here illegally and are working in other industries like the fashion industry or other hardworking migrants who have been in this country for years and don't have papers but are still paying taxes? What about all of them? Would they be included? We'll just have to wait and see if Trump is really going to change his immigration policy and pull back on who exactly ICE can round up and deport, or if perhaps he's just saying this right now to try and calm the tensions flaring up around the country.
Family, Donald Trump is one funny leader. You just wake up in the morning and you decide that from today henceforth, I want immigrants to go on with their normal businesses, in America. I want immigrants who've been working in the farms. They've been so nice. They've been working for more than 20, 25 years, and they've been working so well in the farms. I just want them back. Something that he did not want few months ago. Donald Trump was sending ICE officials in these same farms to arrest the illegal immigrants. Right now he's saying that he prefers them to criminals. He knows that these immigrants are actually nice people. But what are the decisions that he made when he took over? As the President of the United States of America, the first thing he did was ensure that there were mass deportations. After doing that, he's been ensuring that ICE officials raid workplaces to ensure that they get these same immigrants who few weeks ago, were illegal in America. Right now, he says that the same people are so nice and he needs them. Trump has just sat down and noticed that this is affecting white America. And people are asking, and I repeat again, is it about immigration or is it about white supremacy? For the first time ever, Trump backs down, with a decision that he's been pushing since he took over office of immigration, immigrants, and their deportation. Right now, he has started to think how this will adversely affect Americans. He started to think how the prices of foodstuffs will be going higher in a few months. We've seen what has been happening in Nebraska. The farmers were bound to be bankrupt in the next 6 months. And he knew that, but he did nothing in the time. Right now, he's seen that the farmers cannot be able to replace the immigrants. That's the only reason he wants the immigrants back. Because no normal American will take the lower pays that these farmers give people. The immigrants have been working faithfully in a low wage. You know, they've been paid peanuts for the longest time. And right now, the farmers are getting to notice that now it will be difficult for them to survive. You know, farming in America will go down. Prices of foodstuffs will go higher. You know, and after Trump has sat down and thought about it again, he now saw the need of these immigrants. He now is looking for a way that they can integrate to the immigrants, you know, and ensure that the farms are working well. Another sector that is mentioned is the hotel industry. The last time I checked, Donald Trump is a businessman. He owns a lot of these luxury hotels in America. Probably some of his managers in the hotels mentioned to him that most of their workers are actually immigrants, and most of them accept really nice pays that would actually ensure for the growth of their business. So right now, for the first time, the immigration systems, the immigration rules, the laws that he's been setting up is affecting his sector. That's why you see hoteliers being mentioned, you know, after the farmers. When we look at it from the side of the farming side, you'd notice that if these immigrants do not work, it would adversely affect America as a whole. But look at the hoteliers. This is something that is affecting him directly. That's why he's now trying to gamble with Americans, gamble with the institutions that can accept immigrants and those that cannot. You know, it's funny how he even mentions that he's opening up immigrants for only 2 sectors. You'd wonder, what about the other sectors? Would that mean that an immigrant who was working in a hospital is a bad immigrant? Then the other one who's working on a farm, he is a good immigrant. You notice how hypocritical Trump is with his decisions. You notice how this president is gambling with Americans. You know, he does not know what he's doing. The guy is clueless. And that just saddens a lot of people, because now, why would you arrest, you know, somebody who's terminally ill and put them in the ICE detention centers, then now wake up the next day and say that I have noticed that these people have been working well. They've been working for so long. They've been obedient, you know. Trump is just one person that is playing around with Americans. And it's high time that people start think of alternative ways the next time they go back to the ballot. If Trump cannot, if he manages rather to finish, you know, his old rule for the next 4 years, then the next time Americans are going to the ballot, they must think very, very well, because we've seen a joke of a president in his ruling in this term. Guys, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I do not take your support for granted. Kindly like this video so that it can be recommended to other YouTube users. Share this video widely and comment down below. Let me know what you think about these abrupt decisions of abandoning and saying that whatever rules he made with immigration will not be affecting the farming and hotel industries. Thank you.